You ever wonder why you can remember an entire song, but not something that you studied 5 times already? Or why some phrases just stick in your brain, like naturally? Maybe you heard something funny in a TV show or in a movie or something, and now you say that exact same phrase in your daily life. That's because those expressions have a certain rhythm and a certain pattern. And that's how your brain likes to learn. So that's the magic of music, for example. Our brain follows patterns and a structure, and that's what you're going to find in a song. You're gonna find chords and notes and beats, and a chorus that it repeats again and again and again. In fact, almost every song has a certain structure that our brain can predict. So even scientists say that that's why we love a song, or music in general. It's just nature, it's natural, and it's what it is what we like. So from the time we're kids, our brains start detecting those patterns and the structure, associating meaning with sounds and repetition and rhythm. So if you feed your brain that way, it'll do the hard work for you because it already likes it. So I'm gonna show you how to do that and what exactly that means. Let's look at that. So are we talking about rhythm? What is specifically are we talking about? Patterns and rhythms? Is it about music or?
Well, rhythms are a pattern, right? It's a musical pattern, like a rhythm. You know, it likes catchy tunes. It likes, you know, saying da 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 da. That's something that's existed forever. The rain da 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 da. Right? It's a pattern where, you know, songs are perfect for learning because the brain already likes it. So that's why it's fun, right? You already enjoy it. Patterns, the brain likes patterns, the brain can recognize patterns. That's why it's good to learn vocabulary in its context, in phrases, things like that. When you could do it and when you're ready to do it. And that's what the brain likes. So as much as you can feed that, you should feed that. As opposed to knowledge and individual, you know, data points, it loves to connect things, right? It loves to make associations. It loves patterns. It loves to know, oh, I can use that here and here and here and here. And I'm gonna use that way, right? And that's why probably in English we have so many sayings and verbal phrases and, you know, they're just things connected together that don't even actually need to be connected together sometimes, but it's a certain pattern that we like, you know, and the brain likes it.
So when the first time that you were exposed to grammar, it could seem like a pattern, right? Because they use always. I've always seen like a formula. The subject, and then is the present in this form, or the verb in this form, and then the complement. That itself, is that a pattern? And why that is not as efficient for us to catch?
It's an explanation of the pattern. It is not contributing to learning or using the pattern. So we don't even know why we use these patterns, we just know how the patterns are used, right? So it could be explained, like if you want to explain something in the past that is not happening anymore, you would say it this way. But if you were saying something in the past that's still, you know, going on continuous, you would say it this way, and you would use this pattern. Well, we don't know what those patterns are. We just say, you know, I have been, you know, working for 50 years, and but I don't work anymore, right? Or I've worked there for 50 years and now I work somewhere else. Why did I use those patterns and what are those patterns? Well, I don't know, that's just what we've, over the time of using the language and copying from other people is what we've done. The problem is it's good to understand it if you're gonna explain it, but you'll never be able to translate that into usage without practicing it. And the reality is some of these grammatical structures are so rarely used or not used nearly as frequently as others, is that it's going to take you a long time to get in the habit of using it because we don't use it that much. And you may never, as a learner of a second language, use them, and nor do you have to. It's just, you know, that level of grammar, or grammar itself, is just being more specific in the language. That's all it's doing, is just pinpointing in a little bit more finely on a situation, or, you know, in explaining an event, right? So that's what it is. To focus on that is counterproductive to nature. Nature wants you to learn the patterns, use the patterns, copy the patterns, and later on you can understand, like, you know, the overlay of why they are. If you're interested. Most of us are not, so we don't know. It doesn't affect us at all. We just go on with our lives.
Yeah.
And we use the correct pattern because that's what we've heard over and over and over.
Yeah, and it's the same thing in all of the languages, I think. Like, you don't exactly know why or how do you form the phrase, but like, you know,
Yeah.
you just speak in your native language. So those are the patterns. And what about the rhythms? How do we find rhythms in the language?
Yeah, a good example of rhythms are commercials. Now, of course, native speakers and somebody of my age, we have plenty of examples of commercials that had a certain rhythm in the day, and we would say the beginning of it, and everyone would be able to finish it, right? Mm-hmm. Because it has a rhythm to it, has a pattern, has a timing to it, right? So, Winston tastes good, like a cigarette should.
Winston tastes good like a cigarette should. Winston tastes good like a cigarette should.
Rhymes, right? That's what the brain likes. Winston was a cigarette, right? And that's how they sold it. I mean, they stopped advertising cigarettes probably 40 years ago. I still remember that, right? That's just an example of it. That's what the brain likes. That's why we like songs. That's why children especially like songs. That's why I remember songs from my childhood. So in a way, what does that mean for a learner? It means, you know, we like it, we're gonna say those kinds of things, and you're going to copy those kinds of things once you recognize what they mean and you accept them and you're gonna copy them. And that's why we have so many things, maybe in every language, but certainly in English, that don't literally make sense, but we know what it means and we're gonna use it because that's what we do, right? A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Whatever reason we say that, that's a pattern, that's something that we like saying. That means having something for sure is better than speculatively having more. Who wants to say all that? Bird in the hand's worth two in the bush. Okay. And you would say, that's so weird, I would never say that. But you spend enough time here, immersed in the language, you're gonna start saying those kinds of things. It's just gonna happen. Because even if it's not your intention, you're gonna be exposed to it. Once you recognize it, you understand it, you hear it enough times, it's just gonna start to come out. And that's when you copy it. That's what language is. That's what we do. That's why they say certain things in England that we don't say in the US. It's just, that's their way, and that, you know, they learn that pattern and they like those rhythms and those things that sound good. Rhymes always sound good. We love rhymes, you know? So when I say rhythm, it's just that pattern. The brain loves it. We love it. Here are 4 main points. 1, the brain is a prediction machine. It saves energy by spotting patterns, so it doesn't have to process every new piece of information from scratch. A good example of this is how we can read signs that are missing large amounts of letters. 2, rhythms and patterns act like mental shortcuts. Think of how songs or rhymes are easier to remember than random sentences. You probably remember catchy songs from your childhood, or actually catchy pop songs that you don't want to remember. 3, every language has a rhythm, almost like music. That's why we can identify what language is being spoken, although we may not understand what is being said.
O governador de Nova York renunciou hoje por causa do envolvimento com uma rede de prostituição. Seu substituto será o primeiro cego a governar estado americano.
Tuning into the rhythm helps learners pick up flow and intonation, not just vocabulary. 4, grammar is basically patterns. Once you notice them, you don't need to memorize every rule. You just start predicting what sounds right. Here are some examples of grammar patterns in English. John is running. The dogs are eating. I am happy. So what's the pattern? The pattern is simply who you want to talk about, the subject, the action, and then what we call the predicate or the rest of the meaning. So John is running. The dogs are eating. I am happy. Do you hear the pattern? Now let's go to the next pattern. Is John running? Are the dogs eating? Am I happy? Do you hear the pattern? We're just taking the subject and the verb and turning them around. John is running. Is John running? The dogs are eating. Are the dogs eating? I am happy. Am I happy? You hear the pattern? Once you get accustomed to the pattern, then it's easier to make questions. It's simply turning it around and the intonation at the end goes up for a question. Let's look at one more pattern. John is running. John is eating. John is sleeping. John is extrapolating. What's the pattern? Well, we're talking about John doing different things. So we're talking about what he's doing at the moment. So we're just changing the verbs, but the pattern is the same. John is running. John is eating. John is sleeping. John is extrapolating. When we explain what he's doing in the moment, we use the sound ing, ing at the end. Even in complicated verbs or verbs we don't know exactly what they mean, like extrapolate, we can easily change them correctly into John is extrapolating. Because in English, every verb just gets the ing sound at the end to use the continuous form. It's that simple. That's the pattern. So you can go with confidence. These are just a few examples. The takeaway is to recognize and to practice patterns to accelerate your progress. This will liberate you from the need to memorize grammar rules. Just practice and get accustomed to the patterns and the speech starts to flow naturally. That's fluency.
So, repetition, rhythm, and nature. So here's one question for you. What's one phrase that got stuck in your brain just because? Just without even realizing? Or what's your favorite song even? Drop it in the comments and let me know what your brain picked up naturally. And in the next episode, we're going to be talking about how to process more data, more information at once for you to be faster in your learning process. See you in the next one and thank you for watching.